Driving directions on your phone? Oh no! That's not fun! Navigate hands-free with Apple CarPlay.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Joe's Minibike Reunion Podcast. This is Season 6, Episode number 1, and this is your podcast for Friday, February the 26th, 2021. I'm joined by the man himself, Emmanuel Munda from D1, and we were joking as we were putting together, I guess, our licks, or trying to put our chops back together, getting back into the podcast groove, having some fun at each other's expense. But I want to begin.
I'm just so rusty right now.
I now know where the switches are for the lights, and after dicking around with the lights for a half hour, realized I just had to turn off the one big light, and we were fine. He had a problem, I think. What did you have a problem with? Waking up? Yeah, me too. Well, we're here. I want to begin the podcast like I always do with a thank you to our friends over at Pioneer Car Electronics. Over the years, you've seen them everywhere. They're a global leader in car electronics. They support automotive events everywhere, particularly Joe's Minibike Reunion. No matter what you drive, Pioneer's got that technology, that got that great product that you know about. Check them out, pioneerelectronics.com, and don't break up with your car, upgrade it with Pioneer Car Electronics. All right, I want to thank our other sponsors that are back with us this year, our friends over at gopowersports.com. I want to stay on that just for a second. The folks at gopowersports.com, they have like a digital house organ. It's called the Minibike Syndicate, and it's like a gallery on Instagram with cool bikes. I found it because they ran a photo of the Dave Miller chopper. Thank you. And I guess there's a giveaway. You know, they give away all kinds of shit. We started all that, and everybody else is doing it, and that's cool. I hear that Joe Petralia is giving away, I think it's more of a raffle, a chance to win a little dirt bike, but everybody's giving things away. And, the folks at Go Power Sports, the Minibike Syndicate, give away an engine. And supposedly they're fake Minibike Syndicate Instagram pages that are trying to get in the middle of that and convince folks to come over to their Instagram page. So there's some collusion going on in the mini bike world. And, you don't dick around with our sponsors. So we're telling all you guys out there that there's only one Minibike Syndicate, the Go Power Sports funded one. Be careful about any imposters. I also want to give a shout out to our friends over at Studs. Eric, forget Eric. Eric's got a daughter, Sophie. And if you keep in touch with Eric, he's pretty proud of his kids, and rightfully so. Jacob's his son. Now it's going to be baseball season. He'll be pitching no-hitters again. But his daughter's no slouch either, and she's been killing it on the slopes. And I watched the video of her tearing up a slalom course, and she's done exceptionally well, and she's involved in a whole bunch of stuff, and she's so cool. We're going to give away, I don't know if you remember the movie Sophie's Choice, you old guys out there, you old gals, but we're going to come up with the Sophie's Choice Award in the spirit of all the good things that they're doing over there with those Studs kids. They got to be doing something right with their business. If they got great kids, you can always tell people by their kids, right? So speaking of that, you got some good ones. I've got a great one, Nikole. Give a shout out to her, and Boom Boom and Dave and all the other folks that listen to the podcast. All right. So here we are. I've asked you guys to send me a picture of your lame-ass tie-down setup. And I definitely don't want to see any mini bikes with 4 tie-downs because you're going to get a slap. You only need 2. They're mini bikes, damn it. But, you'd be surprised what people are doing with these rat-a-tag style tie downs. You know, some guy literally had like a rubber band trying to hold one down in a photo I saw. But if you're looking for some really good tie downs to trust your cool mini bike, check out our new sponsor, Trader Tim's Tie Downs. Trader Tim, he doesn't fool around. No matter what he does it first class. He has taken a look at this segment, and he's jumped in on a promotional capacity. We're going to give away a mini bike tie down kit. And I know a guy who could use one. In fact, a belated happy birthday to Evil Ed. Someone told me that they saw on a website, happy birthday, Evil Ed, like a week ago. And I said, no, Evil Ed's birthday was like months ago. At least I thought so. So apparently not. So Evil Ed, very belated, and everybody out there, please join me in welcoming the Hall of Famer himself, Evil Ed Roulette. A happy birthday. And Ed, if I wasn't such a shitty singer, I'd sing to you. Last time I saw Ed was a few months back. It's already been a few months after not seeing him for a year. We got the Barris bike delivered, and I was just sitting around looking for things to do, because you've got to do something to keep you busy. Something, work on your mini bike, sell some parts that are laying around, because you can't go out really in California and mingle like we're so used to. For those of you that are in places where you can hang out, it's probably too cold to do it. In fact, let us know where you are, what state you're from, and what the current temperature is. I know that our friends in Texas were really struggling. My buddy Mike Hughes, Mike's listening. Hola, Mike, finally warming up. Well, how could it not be warm? Derek Lewis, the UFC heavyweight top contender, coming off his big hot knockout, brought like 70-degree temperatures back to Texas. So it's warmed up now with Derek Lewis back there. Good for you guys, because it got nasty there. There were people dying. Friggin' ridiculous. One of the biggest, largest states, and we can't get the friggin' heat right. So anyways, we got to do something. And this podcast is a result of just doing something. Emmanuel and I had shared a text, which led to a quick phone call, and we got back to walking. We took a walk a couple days ago and he's my neighbor. I can hit E's house with a 9-iron from my house. Before, I used to be able to putt to his house. So we still don't see each other, because it's just how it is. You're a little trapped. And we got shit going on, and I'm a little older, and E's wife, we're protective and guarded with her health. So, kind of watch out who we see. And there hasn't been anything too damn pressing to worry about getting in each other's face, but we miss each other. We got together because I wasn't doing much, and maybe some of you have been the same way. He's been busy, and when he came walking down my driveway after not seeing him, it's like, damn, you look cute. He must have dropped about 25 large. Svelte. Congratulations, man. It was not only great to see, but it was the spirit of it was great, because we've been trying to work out. Linda's been on that bike like 45 minutes a day. I've been walking and logging my times, but I know that's been really important to you, and you've been doing something productive. And how'd you do it, man?
Yeah, it's called the doctor going, lay off the beef, lay off the rice.
So you're just doing yourself, double dip-ins and eating what you wanted?
I actually had a health scare earlier this year. I guess all the holiday yummies caught up to me, and nearly sent myself to the ER. And so to call the doctor, and she's like, well, you double up on your meds. But I'm doing good. I'm doing really good right now and feeling healthy. I just want to get out and get stuff done. I have my years already booked, so it's awesome. It's a great feeling.
When Ease gives you his version of being busy, this is a dude that doesn't stop 9 to 5. And anybody who knows them, I mentioned Evil Ed, you know him. Anybody who's been in the garage when we used to film the podcast together, Ian, others who have had the chance to check things out, Dane, Jake Moe, obviously, the late Dave Miller. You realize E was he was there 3 hours before you got there and was there 3 hours afterwards. And he was plug and play going on to the next gig. And, Linda's seen it herself. So you've been hustling, and I hope everything starts to pan out and continue to be positive for you, and all good things happen for the family.
Yeah, we have a studio now. Once we're all back up, we've got a studio to play with as well too. So been building that. That's been a great thing.
I didn't want to get ahead of myself, but I was leading into the fact that when we started talking about doing the podcast, it's like, well, his schedule was still tight. I've got some things upcoming. Getting back to the Aftermarket Insider, another podcast project that we're working on, and we'll have on Bud Brutzman, who is the producer and director of all things movie, including Overhauling and SEMA Battle of the Builders, in addition to many others, Rides, which used to be on one of my favorites. I used to love Rides. Bud's also one of the coolest cats around. We've had him on the podcast before. He's up to something. He's got a big announcement to make. And we're also going to catch up with our friend Wade Kawasaki. Wade Kawasaki, the car guy, who is he goes just about to every automotive event, from the Power Tour to the Concours, the Elegant. And Wade's starting to share some of his escapades. And we're going to have him on the Aftermarket Insider. So unlike this format, we're going to keep this format active. We're going to keep everybody going. So for those of you who are listening in, shout out to Mac. Shout out to, we mentioned Ian and Ed, Richard White, Gail, Teresa. How are you, Teresa? I think I met Teresa through the Little Bike Restorations. Marquito. Mark, how are you doing? Hopefully you've got that Springer front end installed. My boy Corona Irving, the Green Hornet. Josh Stover. Josh has got some Minibike apparel. He's hustling. Apparel and decals. Everybody's doing them. And I think I may have told Josh, it's like, yeah, I'd love to work with you, but I got a guy. I got a guy that does my shirt. He does my hats. Nice hat, E, representing. The hat that E has on, you'll notice, is the Ghostbuster hat. 2020 Ghostbusters. See you in 2021. Yeah. So that being the case, a lot has been happening, a lot of banter about the event. Even as early as this afternoon, I had some correspondence going back and forth with the LA County Parks. After not having much correspondence or return correspondence, just to dip my toe in there. We're still in whatever lockdown you want to call it, although they're now letting kids go back to outdoor activities like soccer and football, which is great. And, you can now eat outside again. You can get a haircut. So to those of you, this may sound strange, that's what we've been dealing with out here. And that's where my event is, Joe's Minibike Reunion. I should say your event, our event. How about that? So everybody's asking about it. And I'm asking the park, and it's nothing. It's like, you had mentioned that there's going to be a lottery system. And I had brought that up. And she said, no, not under the North Parks territory, maybe in the LA County Park territory. And I said, okay. I said, well, what do I need to do? She goes, we have you on the list. You're on the list. They tell you you're on the list. That's like, when you get tickets for the Loge, that's like French for way the fuck up there. When they say you're on the list, it's like you're on the list. Come on. So we don't know. I said, well, can I send in a deposit? And she sends me back, no. So I really don't know. And we started doing some backward math when we were walking, and it's like, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for an event this year. If I look at it very realistically, right? It's March, and it takes a little time to build, right? People think you just rent the park and open up the gate. If you want to do a good job, one that you'll be proud of, one that'll be worth somebody coming, especially from other states, it takes time. So you need a few months, and I'm leery as to whether or not I'll be able to get any clarification that early to do it. I'm anxious to. Yet here's the spirit of it. And here's what I want to leave you guys with. First of all, for those of you who had suggestions about maybe relocating the event, thank you. We've had folks from New Orleans to Texas to one guy's house. I had a guy in Borrego Springs who has private property. We've had folks in Las Vegas. I've had conversations with one of my business associates about the Minibike show being a part of a huge event that takes place out here in California. But the reality of it is that none of those things are really looking at, because this is like my neighborhood event. I've got investments in there. It's like 2 blocks from my house. I have people that had come here for free that it's a family thing. It's not a for-profit thing. It's for me to do without it being a big hassle. I can't see myself moving it. It's not that. Like, I'm not some rolling car show. That's not our gig. So without coming across indifferent, just letting everybody know where we're coming from, right? We want to have the event, but we don't want to change shit just because the world's trying to change. And if it means me taking another year off, dude, I'll do it just to be safe. Because again, shit works out in numbers. You can do math on anything. We tell them that we get anywhere from X amount of people. And by the time they started to do math without giving out any specific numbers, let's just say that they cut my deal down to 50% capacity. That means I would only be able to bring in a few hundred bikes and maybe not even enough for a guest that they would want to bring. Like, where were no room for spectators? I mean, it's just so even if we did do it, it would probably have some restrictions that would just make it uncool. Because when I do the event, I wanted to get as many people there as we can possibly. I want it to be a mind fuck, and I want people to come and love it, so that it continues to be the greatest mini bike show on the planet. Thank you, Irving. So look, I'm going to bounce off of that, but I want to let you know that we did talk about that. We talked about what we want to do with this podcast. And we're going to be back. We're going to be back twice a month. Next podcast is March the 11th, and we're going to change up the time. I screwed up when I initially mentioned the time tonight. I said 7 o'clock. I had to change everything at 6 o'clock because it's tough on the East Coast. And look, we're not a huge podcast where it's affecting a ton of people. But in my view, I don't care if there's 4 of you watching it. We want to treat it like it's serving the folks nationally, and the East Coast folks have been having a tough time with the late startup at 7, so we'll move it up. And you can always watch this stuff online. And candidly, E and I are going through the website right now. Don't go to the website because it's under construction. I mentioned that earlier. Go to the YouTube page. We're going to start using that a little bit more actively. There's like 500 folks that are subscribing to the YouTube page. I think we have not quite 4,000 folks that are either friends or like the Joe's Mini Bike Reunion Facebook page. Go to the YouTube page. That's why, and I've hated that, right? That's why over the years,
get pennies. Oh, YouTube.
So what do they need to do? They go to Joe's Mini Bike Reunion on YouTube.
Go
subscribe, right?
JMBR. Also.
Yeah.
And if you guys are on our
Well, if I had your money, I'd burn my knee. I'd like to give a couple of shout outs, if I could, to some folks that, the one guy, his name is Dave Luce. Dave was literally my first true friend when Linda and I moved to Southern California back in 1982, which is way before you were born, E. I see something that says the audio is cutting out, so I'm not sure if that's my end or not.
That's me.
Okay. Thank you for that, Rich. So congrats to us for being lucky enough to find such a cool guy, Dave, early on. And living in California?
It's just E. You're fine, just E.
Okay, great. I think it was just your audio, E. Thank you, Linda, for that. So Dave, thank you for all you did for us back when it counted, dude. And God bless you. I hope you're still doing well. Dave's probably trapped just like we are. He lives down in right outside of Glendale. I hope that your mom's doing well, Dave. And again, enjoy your birthday. like to also mention my buddy who has got a pretty cool gig, Jason Deanhart. Jason is the founder of the Global Time Attack. And that is one of the projects he's been working on for close to maybe over a decade now. And that is really starting to be quite the activity for those of you who are into that sport compact scene. Check them out. It's all go with show, not show with no go. Jason, happy birthday to you. Hope you and Amanda have a great evening. Good time, I'm sure, is in store for you guys. Okay, so E, thanks for helping, because that, like I said, now I'm kind of back on track. We've got some dates. We've got a podcast. We're going to get right back into the Joe's Minibike Reunion garage tours. So who do you want to see? Like, I want to get to Temecula Bob personally. I mean, he would be unreal. So I'm shooting for this guy. Who do you guys want to see? I think we've covered some of the big names already. I was on the phone with Daryl Smith from Big Daddy Motorsports this past week. And Big Daddy Motorsports is within striking distance. I'd love to bounce over there maybe and do a remote garage tour. Who knows? Maybe swing by Rafa. See what's going on over at GTS Hobbies. So if you have a suggestion, and maybe you can help out, maybe you can, send us an email, tell us some folks that you'd like to see. Shout out to Big Dane Walton. How you doing, Dane? Good to see you. I miss him. So
Dane's garage.
If I remember, the first time I came across Dane, and he'll correct me if I'm wrong, I thought something happened where someone robbed his mini bike out of his garage in Pomona. And it being something online, and then meeting up with him when we ride up in AV. God, it's been forever since I've done that. Wonder if I have any bikes I still have that fast bike that can go up there. Anyways, happy birthday to Jason. Happy birthday to Dave. Also want to give a shout out to my niece Gracie and her new husband Dennis. They're getting married, and they're getting married on March the 6th. And they have an upcoming baby coming in July. So all of our little babies that we remember, they're now having babies. You're really getting oldie. God damn.
You're telling me, man.
No, I got socks older than you.
Well, that's probably true.
So congratulations on the home front. I've been, in addition to thinking about getting going on the podcast as we have, I also have been finishing up that chopper. And I'll tell you, that chopper was really good therapy for me, because over the last, month or two, I had a chance to just hang around in the garage, whether it was 2 days, 2 hours, days on end, or not doing anything for days on end. I got to it when I wanted to. Sometimes you were stuck because I had to wait for parts. And that was nice because it was a forced pause. I never had a timeline, but it went by pretty quick because it was all there. And that was a nice project. I want to thank our friends. I want to thank Frank Moore. Frank Moore is the cool guy from Ohio who is the master of West Bends, the two strokes. And he built me a West Bend 700 that has been sitting around for a while, turned into garage art. And when that chopper was calling out for something, engine-wise, on the top end, you can do that Hidaka Ace 100, I guess. Get some two-stroke screaming chopper death ride, or you get a 5 horsepower with a jack shaft setup and be like every other friggin'. And this really wasn't a Bonanza. This was a Dave Miller chopper. I think, it's even more unique. And I want to thank Randy Arnault, because Randy is who I got that bike back from. And I don't mean I got it back from, but I got it from. Randy won that that one-piece frame from Dave Miller. Dave was there on site, and it was a red, white, and blue frame that Randy won. Tragic that Dave passed away. Fast forward a year later, Randy's already purchased a brand new fork and sissy bar. He's got some idea with some Springer soloed chopper seat from the 60s and some two-stroke Maniac engine. And he was thinking about going in a whole different direction. And I had heard from someone locally, who I wish I did remember his name. He turned me on to the fact that Randy still had that bike or the frame. And I reached out to him and I was able to buy it from him. And I got to tell you, I had the wheels for it. I had the tires for it. I had the chain. I had the motor. I had one grip. I needed a lever or two. I had the cables. I purchased my jack shaft and sprockets from our friends over at Studs. My man, Dan Coop, helped me out. And the guys at Studs did a great job with me, as they always do. I worked with the folks over at Go Power Sports and got some chain tensioners and some grips. I really didn't need much. I even had the West Bend tank, the gas tank that went with it. So everything that I needed for that bike, including the decals that I put on that tank, which came from the Barris project, they were all there just waiting to be put somewhere. And everything from the clamps to hold the cables and the brake stops. So it was nice to get in there. And I hope that you guys are doing the same, because it was time away from the computer. It was time working on the bikes. It was gratifying. It was fun. I was interacting with some folks because I needed some parts. I needed some help. I leaned on my buddy, John, who's here locally. I don't know, maybe 20 minutes from here. He's down in Sunderland, Tahunga area. And it's like, John, the springs for the sissy bar, I didn't know, but they were just like from a Honda Trail 70 and they were too tall. So I thought I had to press those things. And it's like, shit, they must have been like about 1.5 feet. So I'm thinking about having to press those things. And the more I'm looking at them, it's like, how do you press these things? So he said, I would just cut them in half. Okay, just cut them. So my buddy John, he had all this stuff. We went over there, we cut the springs down, the sprocket. These rear sprockets, they come in different sizes and they bolt on. But sometimes the bolt pattern doesn't match up. So, we had to re-drill 4 holes, and he had a drill press, and, it was nice to be able to have that precision cut. So, I could have hacked it, and I was trying to do all that stuff without the right equipment, because I just, I don't have, I don't have patience. And here's the thing. Sometimes the tool that you need, you're only going to use once. So it's like, it's tough to go out and buy a drill press. I may not never use it. But in this case, it would have been nice to have, and I didn't have it, so John did. Not to mention, John's smart as a whip, and when we fired up that 2-stroke, he's like Evil Ed. They get down there with those big, tough hands, and they don't even know his fucking screwdriver. They use their fingernail instead of a screwdriver, and they know exactly in, out, 1.5, in another 1/8. It's science with those guys, and it was nice to see that. And John, thank you for the help. I brought over, I had another project, that Indian Papoose, that had been sitting around. Meanwhile, I've seen these terrible examples of this bike posted for sale for over $4,000 or $5,000. And I look at this bike, which is literally brand new, right? And it's been sitting there. I got the carburetor set up, and it was sticking. It's like one of those Delorto UA19s. I think it's 19 UA, one of those versions. And it's got a slider in there. And that wasn't the problem. The problem we had was it was the points were sticking. So John was, again, a big help there. While we were assembling things and putting them back together, a screw dropped inside the cylinder head and the piston skirt cracked, right? So previously to that, we had it fired up and it was running. So that was too many hands in the kitchen. There's a lesson learned. He's doing one thing on one end. I'm doing another thing on the other end. I'm putting on one intake bolt. He's trying to do the same. And then we tried to kick it, and I saw his face because I was looking right at him. He's on the opposite side of the bike, and I just see his face. He goes, "Did you hear something?" It's like, oh. I did now, right? Yeah, I thought I heard something. It's like, well, that's not a good thing. So we pulled off the head, and we looked down there, and you could just see the piston. I saw a little scrape on the piston. I said, "Oh, that scrape." He goes, "No, look down." The whole skirt exploded. So we were able to pull off the head, unbolt the engine, tilt it, pull off the head, and pull out the piece. It was one clean break. we found the little nut or washer that went inside there. And I've been ordering pistons like a maniac online, and we've got a few of them. It didn't come with a set of rings, so I had to go find a set of rings. And I think with the weather, it's just been an issue with getting anything through the post office. So we've been delayed. So I'm trying to get that project done. And, hopefully you guys are doing the same, working on some bikes and keeping yourself together. We're going to take a look at some posts up here. In the meantime, send in your photos of your tie-down setup. We're going to take a look at them after the show, and then we'll post the winner. I saw some pretty cool ones up there. One was from John Benet Ramsey. How you doing, John? We mentioned our friends Dane Walton, Mike Spartaro. Thank you for checking in as well. Gail and Jerry. Did I mention Gail and Jerry? How could I not, right? There's some activities that are coming up, and you guys are probably going to want to be a part of them. Depending on what you're into, I've been a big fan of the Groms and the Monkeys and the smaller bikes. And we have been on a little bit of a pause just because again, we're in lockdown. So the typical Friday night rides, they're just not typical anymore. So as things change, we're hopeful that we'll get back into that riding mode. And unlike, I should say, unfortunately, every night it would be kind of a free fall. You could show up at a certain spot and we would ride, and it got a little bit too crazy. Folks would come up with full-size bikes, and we were typically a small bike group. Some of the folks that, weren't exactly there for the same reasons. A group of 50 cool guys turned into 100 guys that you didn't know really. And it was a different deal. So it went from a free for all to just invite only. And now it's back to a nice, cool vibe when everybody rides and has a good time. There's going to be a ride coming up, I believe, to Santa Barbara, first Saturday of March. For those of you who know, you know. And for those of you who don't know, you don't know. That's how it kind of works. Ask around. There's also Joe Petrelli, who I mentioned earlier. In fact, when I was dicking around with that helmet, Joe said spend $80, and he sent me a photo of this vintage one. It's like, shit. I'd rather screw mine up like I've been doing than buy an $80 helmet. I did want to get it airbrushed. When I first started looking at that helmet for my next project, I said, well, let me get it airbrushed. And I started calling around, and I got a quote for like $700. And that was the beginning. So I laughed that off. I bought some rattle cans, and I've been dicking around with this helmet now for, again, a week now. And EU side, I don't have the patience, because the trick to paint is to let it dry. And I don't have patience. So
it's literally watching the paint dry, Joe. Like, just do something else.
I can't. I feel it. I got to get to it. So I'm on my third version, but I'm digging that. And again, it kept me away from the computer. It kept me away from sitting down in the chair watching the same old lame TV. Somebody told me to watch Hotel Cecil on Netflix, and that wasn't really all it was cut out to be. So again, all I'm suggesting is that while you guys are out there, Emmanuel's got no sound to keep saying, yeah, okay.
Let's make sure we got sound. Can you guys hear me now?
So again, all I'm suggesting is that while you guys are out there, I think it's just back when you were replying.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, so I mentioned I talked to Daryl Smith. Daryl's one of those guys who a lot of folks have been talking about for Joe's Minibike Reunion Hall of Fame. And as I think about it, he definitely is one of the guys that should be considered. We typically let all the Hall of Famers be a part of it. Great. Thank you, Linda. Linda can hear. So I talked to Daryl, but I was talking about Joe Petrelli. Joe had said, hey, buy this helmet. And I decided not to. But the reason why I was bringing Joe up is Joe has an event on Muscle Minibike Build Off. And he's got 4 or 5 contestants that are going to be building their bikes, and they're going to be responsible for not only the build, which will be all captured live, so you can check it out and you can support them, but he's raffling off a bike. Joe sells knockoff dirt bikes, and they've come a long way. I remember we used to joke about like Leaf On, and shit, now they're some of the cooler engines out there, right? People forget that Honda was a joke at one time, right? So Kia was a joke. We just saw one of those Stingers. Remember, E? The Kia Stinger?
Yeah, sports cars now.
So look, there is no Chinese junk anymore when it comes to this stuff. But Joe sells these dirt bikes, and he sells the Chinese version of a Honda Gram, the version of a pit bike, and a few other things. He also mentioned he was buying, which is pretty cool. He buys Colemans that are returned. He buys them back from Coleman and he fixes them and sells them. And you got to think, there's probably a lot of kids, right? That, like me, when I was a kid, couldn't start the mini bike because I forgot to put fucking gas in there. Right? So imagine how many mini bikes are returned for stupid reasons. Joe gets them started in a second and sells them, right? Smart. So he's always hustling. And he's got something going on with the Muscle Mini Bike Build Off. It's live. You can check his page out, his Facebook page as well. So we'll give him a shout out. Also wanted to, again, send in your suggestions on who you'd like to see for garage tours. I'd like to know so we can set that up. Any other comments that you have as well, bring them on. There's one other thing that's happening. Okay, yes, here's what it is. I'm going to just bring this up because I actually wonder, and I've really questioned as to whether or not it has any validity after you and I talked about it, but there are online programs like Patreon, which is what we talked about, where people pay a monthly fee to get entertainment. Okay? It's just how it goes. And some folks pay a lot of money to be entertained, I guess. I don't know. That's not our
your weekend, Joe. That's your weekend.
So I do like the spirit of it because, we have had a folklore in our history of giving stuff away.
Yeah.
That's all I do. Like literally, I want you to spend $20 at the mini bike show and leave with like $100 worth of stuff. So, and I've got enough connections with folks that make products. Those of you who've come to our event, you've seen that before. So what I'd like to do is just put it out there. I want to do things that if we did a Patreon where not only would we give you all the standard shtick, whether it was a special podcast weekly, a couple daily updates throughout the week, some free items, whether it's trinkets and trash or decals or posters or autograph items, also products from sponsors.
Oh yeah.
Like goodie bags. Depending on at what level, start the level like at $1, only $1. What's that? $12, E? $12.
$12 a year, yeah.
So
a buck a month. That's
all right. So at one level, at the second level, you do like a minimum of $5. With that, you immediately with $5 are like $60.
Mm-hmm.
So like you immediately give them a hat or a T-shirt, and then a ton of junk,
yes,
ton of good stuff. And then at another level, like 10, which would be $120, they get all that same stuff that the other levels get, but they get like a free entry into the show. We have opportunities to do a lot of things. So I'm trying to come up with just throwing it out there. This is not be a part of Patreon for $50 a month or $20 a month. This is like $1. We get a few hundred of those Patreon members to support that. Then I give that money to E, and then E could take the $300-400 and promote whatever we're doing online. So we get more people at the show, more people listening. It's just one of those things. You don't just send us money. You send us money, you get stuff, and then we give dollars for marketing. So check Patreon out. I have, because I support a couple. I like Joey Coco Diaz. I listen to a few others.
On it. All right. I just need to put in a few more words and a few more graphics, and we'll have our Patreon running.
And I'm all about putting together some cool things. And I've got some good ideas. And if you match them up with what I think's out there, which is not much, you don't get really much more than the additional podcasts and maybe some daily updates. No one gives shit away.
Yeah.
What people don't realize too is that to send somebody something, even if it's like short of decals, it's like $8-12 just to send the box. So think about that. If you'd like to hear more about that, if you got a comment, yay or nay, some people will tell us we're crazy. There'll be some folks that probably are laughing, right? On that same token, maybe some folks are already doing it. We're not unaware of it. I'm glad that we talked about it. I wanted to bring it up. So, hey, give a couple of shout outs before we break away. Once again, we'll be back on March the 11th at 6 p.m. Pacific time. That's going to be a new time. Thanks to our sponsors, Pioneer, Studs Racing, and Go Power Sports. I want to give a shout out to my man, Corey, my buddy, Timmy Green, Martin Wilches, my buddy, Dre Cook. Hope to see you soon, Dre, as well as Two-Stroke Ralph.
Calvin. Don't forget Calvin Carisi.
Calvin Carisi, yes. In fact, man, it's been 2 years, 2+ years I've seen
Right.
Calvin. Yeah. Hope you're doing well, Calvin. EC Coldball, my buddy Hakimi from Saudi Arabia. He's been chiming in recently. All those guys out there, Amr and Ali and Danny in Turkey. Miss you guys. My buddy Mikey, IG, Jerome, Brian Ekstrom. Brian, haven't seen you in a little bit. Hope you're doing well. Hope your family's doing well. Sending your photos. Jean Bonnet, I got your cool photo. We got like 8 cool photos of folks with their tie downs. Let's give a couple of shout outs to my boy, Chris Karak. Yep. Chris was in Texas dealing with all that nasty weather. So hopefully you're all right, Chris. Hope you're doing well. Mike Zidbin. Mike, you still owe me a hat. What else we got over here? Well, if I miss you, I'll catch you the next time. It was good to catch up. It was good to catch up with you. When are we going to walk again?
Tuesday?
Tuesday sounds good.
Tuesday, Wednesday?
Yeah.
Or both?
Do something, folks. Get out there.
No, we're doing something on Wednesday, aren't we? And we have
Wednesday
a
we're
surprise
filming at
coming
night.
up. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we got a couple
we
things.
got a big surprise for these guys.
Yeah, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that too. For those of you again who are not aware, we have the Aftermarket Insider podcast. We'll be going on season 2. We started it off last year during the pandemic. We've taken a little bit of a pause from just about all things, including this podcast, for a while. So thank you for the time. If you know of somebody who couldn't hear the podcast, you can always check it out again on the YouTube channel. We will be working on the website shortly. Once again, Joe's Minibike Reunion, the status. Shout out to my man, Jake Moe. We're hopeful. I'll leave it at that. It is going to be a challenge because that's just the reality of it. We are not moving it. Look, this is opportunity time. If you're somewhere where you can have a live event, try a mini bike show. God bless you. We've set a nice little template up. Try something original, do something different, take advantage of things. Give yourself that first step forward and do your own deal. And if we can help support it, we will. But Joe's Mini Bike Reunion is not going anywhere. And we'll see you. We'll see you at the next one. Exactly. Once again, sponsors, Pioneer, thank you, Studs Racing and GoPowerSports.com. Use those guys. I did. Hope to see you next time, everybody. Thanks for watching it. See you next time.
See you guys.
Joe's Minibike Show.